说好，我南无满觉虚耶，南无说虚耶，南无我大满虚耶说好。就那拉将就帮助当地给苏些，大给金所给别错难给，罗拉边界上给就帮助上给去当所给就那拉将就帮助当地给苏些，大给金所给别错难给，罗拉边界上给就帮助上给去当所给就那拉将就帮助当地给苏些，大给金所给别错难给，罗拉边界上给就帮助上给去当所给就那拉将就帮助当地给苏些，大给金所给别错难给，罗拉边界上给就帮助上给去当所给就那拉将就帮助当地给苏些，大给金所给别错难给，罗拉边界上给就帮助上给去当所给就那拉将就帮助当地给苏些，大给金所给别错难给，罗拉边界上给就帮助上给去当所给就那拉将就帮助当地给苏些，大给金所给别错。多拉边界上给就帮助，上给去当所给就那拉将就帮助当地给苏些，大给金所给别错难给，多拉边界上给就帮助。为给就些没多大。让灵性你的肩膀的上给心中没得我也就别让他见到去把说一当古主人他们到了干的呀大呀。
Atau maupun lain saja tidak tahu, jika ada cerita mana sekarang jadi kita mama coba kita masih anjing berjalan, jadi mana dewan di zaman tu kalau kita dengan bahasa mana diikat kita jadi jadi mana jadi kisah seperti ini cuma yang bercuci yang bertahu sama kita sini pada mana sini
All sentient beings have been our mothers. No sentient beings have been our mothers for numberless times. They are as kind as our mothers of this life. Even though all kind mothers sentient beings want happiness and do not want suffering for even a moment, however, due to not knowing the objects of abandonment and adoption properly, they create a karma to bring forth the suffering results only. In our mind, sincerely generate loving kindness towards all kind mother sentient beings, thinking, how nice if all kind mother sentient beings had excellent happiness. May all kind mother sentient beings have excellent happiness. I will cause all kind mother sentient beings to have excellent happiness. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
어디 이제 동아지나 있은지 대다 당시 고소 좀 문제도 초 타다다 저는 좀 자와 주지 자와다 시 대다 지는 보다는
Next, we cultivate compassion toward all suffering mother sentient beings. Thinking how nice if 3 doors of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from all discordant class. May 3 doors of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from all discordant class. I will cause 3 doors of all suffering mother sentient beings to be free from all discordant class. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
어디 이제 동아지나 있은지 대다 당시 거거든요. 소리 동아리 이게 쓰나 보고 이게 내라라 보제 대디네 가서 양다 봐도 상지지 공부하는 게 이거는 이거를 쓰라해서 양다 봐도 상지를 해서 힘이 선지 통지적인 상지지 공부하는 게 시점이 이제 또 샤워 장기시 생각하셨습니다.
Next, we cultivate bodhicitta towards all mother sentient beings. First, we ask ourselves who should take the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and of lower realms. I should take the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and of lower realms. However, I do not have the ability to do so now. Who have the ability to do so? Only those who have achieved the perfect complete enlightenment have the ability to do so. Thus, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, by all means, I will become Buddha.
대지 이제 탄지는 산지지 공부도 가셔. 뭐 maybe 세고도 받더니 당근이가 다이 지고 모두 맨날 같이 주는 거지. 이 최단계로 이게 모두 동반 방에서 로직이 대단히 재밌어요. 세대. 당근이가 다이 지고 대기 도지 갖고 쓰는 맨날 같이
Next, we cultivate all-encompassing yoga mind. We're aspiring conventional bodhicitta that thinks, for the sake of all sentient beings, I will become Buddha. These transform into a white mundis at one's heart. And our ultimate bodhicitta is one's mind becoming in one taste with emptiness, that all phenomena are lacking of inherent existence. These transform into a white five-pronged Vajra on top of the mundis.
The days is the Kumbo, but I did the Gambia Madigo, each to be Dawaiians and Kumban chooses some voices.
Next, we meditate on emptiness, that I, neither intrinsically one with nor intrinsically different from the aggregates. Thus, I do not exist intrinsically.
The days is the as a just a project to be managed symbol sometimes. That on that was in Ginger Diggy, Jula Kanda Maduji Pado, they can the Nesa goes to Kandiji Chevina, they did Nesa goes to the It's our day. Yet at the day, Sinjil Pat, Chet Pat, only sons, they don't say a push. Jetubina, they want to be managed symbols.
Next is to conjoin this session with the practice of 6 perfections. The first one is the practice of generosity. And generosity is mainly about the mind of giving. So for these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I give this root of virtue to all sentient beings.
That age is a kind of sitting managed symbol of some of that. And Ginger saw a day ring Nesa goes to Chibi Caso, and near some of the Capso. They can't do not be Jimmy to Majua. The sitting managed Simbachi. The not be Jimmy to Majua. Only do not be Jimmy, but only Saturday. The one said the Apoji, some Tantavina. They can't because sitting managed symbols.
Next is the practice of morality. And morality is mainly about the mind of abandoning. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I will abandon my physical and verbal negativities so that they do not manifest.
The day is not in Ginger Soberina, Nesa Bonso, Kandiji Chibina, because Nesa Bonso Chibi Capso. That kind of listen the way Kang Katichomano, until a Setubach. Setubach, Mutu Sim as a row of Sibin. The Setubach Chibin is at the biggest amount of Tantabana. Or the was Sibin in the rest.
And next is the practice of patience. Patience is mainly about, patience is an undisturbed mind. For these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, whatever physical and mental hardships that occur, I will willingly embrace it.
That day is not the 20 managed symbol. That is in the degree of Nesa Bonso, Kandiji Chivina. Give out the Sinji tension that the means of singing about it, they can So the gym much about Chinese and the rich some down the way now. They want to manage serious.
Next is the practice of joyous effort. And joyous effort is an enthusiastic mind for virtue. In other words, is a mind delighting in virtue. So for these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I take delight in virtue of gathering. I take delight in gathering virtue, and I take delight in the virtue for a virtue of working for the welfare of others.
That is Sunday in your symbol. That kind of the choosing the Zinja Madush Gato, that means some also. Chiabi was a Jewish Karina, Delape, some of the Dela need too much. We hear none of the Noya or the Mandua, and the Jewish kind of Delape, that means some also. You are putting some of the need to be taking some the leaves, some between the big and that some of the labor.
Next is the practice of meditative concentration. During these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, my mind single-pointedly abide on today's lesson and do not get distracted by issue other than today's lesson. For example, family issue or work issue.
What is the sheriff to manage symbol? And yes, I was a collision of it. Labor shivach. The Jewish Karina pay. See that Shepherd labor and Jetubati. Jetubaina. I sheriff manage symbols.
Next is the practice of wisdom. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Dharma, I properly distinguish the words and the meaning.
That day is a kind of chasing the tangible Sanji Kubatova page. That don't be chasing the opinion on it, training the passenger of Pemba being some of those applications.
Set motivation. For the sake of all sentient beings, I will become Buddha. For this purpose, I am going to receive the commentary and holy teaching and practice accordingly in order to benefit sentient beings.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't want to manage you. That the Jibanga my shoe. That Jibanga Kanda, Gumble do this in the shooting. Good and jet Nesemu Bada, need and do the Chesson Jibanga Venus or Jibanga Direction.
So to continue where we stopped last week, so we talked about 5 obscurations, and according to Protector Nagarjuna in Letter to a Friend, what are these 5 obscurations? The first one is excitement and regret. The second one is harmful intent. The third one is sleep and lethargy. Fourth one is aspiration for the desire, and fifth, doubt. So in general, these 5 obscurations, sleep and so forth, are said to obscure all of the classes of virtue, and in particular, the 3 trainings.
That depends on my tissue, my Gopa Nini Dipachi. Neither Mooney Dipachi, they said and the Balan Bimba, Tesona, the Renishi, and Nase, and to Dipanga Zitan teacher.
So the 5 obscurations are excitement and regret counted as 1, sleep and lethargy counted as 1, harmful intent, aspiration for the attributes of the desarium, and doubt, they counted individually. So this makes 5 obscurations.
And the Balantimba, the Nisi, so Trinjilabala, Diglies, that was a Trinjilaba, the points in Basilova. Points in Baditaka, in the Balantimba, the Nisi in the Papua, and the Balantimba in the Shapo. Was a Trinjilaba, the points in Basil, what the shape or dealing with the color other the Neseda, 자신으로서 내가 보고 와. 어디 따지는 거.
So furthermore, aspiration for the attributes of the desarium and harmful intent mainly obscure the training in ethics. So as we mentioned before, ethics or morality is mainly about the minds of abandoning, right? So ethics abandon aspiration for attributes of the desarium that is part of attachment and harmful intent.
但你都没把的，没把的，就把那就是做升级了吧了，就把些定级了吧了，他这个我呢，当就新年搞么不学着哇，我说你说我的新年比完了我呢，把去今天没把说的，那个把说他那的，但就把的这个那个的，谁定级了，最近的两把小分，但这个没得上就把接吧呢，那老是都没把接上哇，那就是被我呢是我是好快的哇。
Sleep, lethargy, excitement, and regret mainly obscure the training of mind. So training of mind, in other words, is training of meditative concentration. So as you all know, some of you know that you may have known that sleep, lethargy, excitement, and regret are the obstacles to karma abiding. These are the obstacles to achieving karma abiding. So so like for example, sleep, lethargy, excitement, and regret, they obscures one from single-pointedly abiding on the object.
他台中的都进去做，现在的老板了，这个修的也是的，现在的老板的我说，看，引把的蛮被切半来半进去了哇，切半来半进去，他台中的都进了上，不是被，因为呢这个被，切半了，他看他继续的也是，因为呢这个等于修过嘛，是被。 你那台上那么今天变了，你那没是你起码都因为切半天了，不打他过把起起来是吧？
Doubt, investigation, and analysis mainly obscure the training in wisdom. So wisdom is properly distinguish the object, whether it is the object or whether it is not the object or not. So, for example, doubt cannot properly distinguish the object, right? Because it's like this or maybe it's like that. So that's why we call doubt. And yeah, so if we have this doubt it mainly obscure the training in wisdom. So it's it's the opposite of wisdom.
但是等于是经过了不能这些的对吧？东面西边的话就是现在都是了，对吧？他就是我是写不东西，对吧？他经常就是我们这人就是吧。
Yeah. So also then the compendium of knowledge teaches that these 5 obscurations obscure ethics and meditative concentrations, whereas Shantarashita, commentary on the 20 verses on the Bodhisattva vows, explains that only meditative concentration is obscured.
他对我呢，没管呢，你去告诉我是写不哇，你告诉你的兴趣是告诉什么也是，但这帮我一告诉给你记得，是比真正干的是，你典型的国把的你去告诉，典型的国把的你去告诉什么哇，国把你去告诉什么是吧？你这把你兴趣那的什么了，你的记得这个真正干是，但是什么之前的嘛，像我们那个是吧？我这个我们的习惯。
So then there is a qualm. So well then, what is the reason for subsuming lethargy, which occurred in the context of secondary afflictions, and sleep, which occurred in the context of changeable mental factors into one, in the context on the 5 obscurations? So what is the reason to subsume lethargy? So lethargy is part of secondary afflictions, right? Sleep is part of changeable mental factors. Why these 2 are subsumed into one? In the context of 5 obscuration. Similarly, then what is the reason for subsuming excitement, which is part of secondary afflictions, and regret, which is part of changeable factors into one? So this is the question's answer is here.
那这种就没把的秘密的，等到几把的时候，等到几把的话马的时候，是吧？等几马的时候是呢，没把时候的都没给查到的，你时候的也没给我们的松开有时候，是吧？松开有的时候，没把的都没给查到的，你时候的也没给我们的松开有的，也有我说啥？他看到没把你那的你兴趣的松开的话，我给我们的松开，等几把马的时候，他看到让你什么时候？ 看到这个你看等到几个账户啊，这对我那个。
Yeah, so generally, lethargy and sleep are not the same. So since lethargy is involved with ignorance, in other words, is part of ignorance, and sleep can either be virtuous or non-virtuous or neutral, unspecified. So sleep can be 3 types, can be virtuous, can be non-virtuous, or can be unspecified. So lethargy is said to be a secondary afflictions and sleep are changeable mental factors. So because of this, then in general, lethargy and sleep are not the same. So similarly, with regard to excitement and regret, since excitement is involved with attachment and regret can be virtuous or non-virtuous or unspecified or neutral. So excitement is said to be a secondary affliction and regret is said to be a changeable mental factor. So then why they are subsumed into one? Then why they are subsumed into one? Because they are produced from the same cause, because they are abandoned by the same antidote, and because they accord in having the same functions. So hence, each of these 2 pairs of mental factors is thought to be a single obscuration. So that they are produced from the same cause refers to the following. Both lethargy and sleep are produced from overeating, an unhappy mind, an unhappy mind and discouraged mind, relishing taste and so forth. So take overeating for example. So if we if we eat too much, then we feel sleepy, right? So both excitement and regret are produced from having indulged in the attributes of the desarium, having fun, laughing, and so forth in the past, and from the notions that one will not die and the like. So that they are abandoned by the same antidote refers to the following. Both lethargy and sleep are dispelled by the discriminations of illumination. So other words is they are dispelled by the idea or the perceptions of light or illumination. Then this is easy to understand, right? So because lethargy and sleep are unclear mind. So both lethargy and sleep are unclear mind, or the mind lacking of clarity. So if you generate the perceptions of illuminations or light, like in dawn, when sunrise, so these perceptions of bright light or brightness will eliminate the darkness or the darkness of unclarity of the mind, of these 2, sorry, the lethargy and sleep. So it removes the unclarity of lethargy and sleep. Excitement and regret are dispelled by holding the mind inwards on an object of observation. So this is also easy to understand. If one's mind firmly hold on to an object of observation, and then at that point of time, excitement cannot arise, regret cannot arise. So if excitement arises, then it then it will affect the mind, the single pointed abiding of the mind. Because of this excitement, then the mind cannot single pointedly abide on the object of observation.
Medisho the Karisana, that Medisho to never continue is that she were the moon the Nini saying how the Shumbala, sitting in the Nibala, and the things in the Path Chipper, about the Nipa Sawa of Chibis. That Guba the Jeba in the city in the Nibala Chibis, that should say.
Yeah. So just now we was talking about antidotes, right? So antidote is applied to onto something. So then its relation to is related to next one, the function. That they are accord in having the same functions refers to the following. Since both lethargy and sleep cause discouragement within the mind, they hinder meditative concentration and especially the clarity of the object of observation. And since both excitement and regret hinder single-pointed abiding, their functions accord.
That's all. That's also tender dishes. That should have brought. And then also, since you want to but the danger to the above is about you. That can that danger to what they conduct the window with the window with the union, that give what you son give what you send it to Mination. Then she shish. That danger to the fire with the about you. The danger to know they can't reading by the shits of what. What's doing the danger to yours as a doing in the chair. That's the one station which much she said. That the old Makanda, legend of the education.
So up to this point, we have already discussed the 51 mental factors already. So, and these 51 mental factors are subsumed into 6 groups. What are these 6 groups? 5 omnipresent mental factors, 5 object-sustaining mental factors, the 11 virtuous mental factors, 6 roots afflictions, 20 secondary afflictions, and 4 changeable mental factors. So, these 51 mental factors are subsumed into these 6 groups. And then, we have to keep in mind that these 51 mental factors are subsumed in 6 groups. And what are they? Then you must have this in your mind. So after this, then is a concluding discussions. So it's like advice, giving the author giving advice.
The dual among us, Zani, the Nini, the Shinju, the Super, Ninzipe, a road that she was a Kanda, a Kanda Jeba, someone that Jeba and Water, the Kanga and so roads that she was Roa. That is not best Jeba in the Jokana, Jesus, so see me, but who is a Nanda game again, Luma the Kaime. That Luma is all have Luma, the Mati Luma is a Mobile Legore, that Panja Ponsi go to Chepa Legore, Panja Ponsi and deep launch Ponda and deep launch Ponda is Chepa Legore. That you did the Shiji carrying to Chepa Legore. That is so as a day Shebuna. Also, for the children of Mari, the song was open to that, no Kundi to Soda, show the solar, what's the Lojo Martin and Lanza, and also got the trade Roa, show Mambo, this is the jungle. That is what the Mambo showed. Was Tomba Bomba said the chance of the jungle. Tomba the Bomba, Jidebe Launch Ponce, Jidebe Launch Ponce. Then the song was Zukanda, so make a chance of the buggy the Ponda, Debal Ponda, chance of Shell. That is the song was showed the busy Jeba Matana. That is what the trail into the Marisua. That Jillian was a colleague.
So that's I have explained merely the identities of the root afflictions, secondary afflictions, and the 4 changeable mental factors. So the explanations here is just a brief explanations, but because if we were to explain, if the author were to explain extensively, then it will involve many important points, such as the individual entities, the modes in which they are produced from particular causes, the individual objects of observation, concomitants, synonyms, the modes of transformation into virtuous, non-virtuous, or unspecified. And then regarding unspecified, again, there are two types, the obscured, unspecified, and unobscured, unspecified. So unobscured, unspecified. And their individual drawbacks, the way they are abandoned by particular antidotes. And then regarding the particular antidotes, then there is a difference between the modes of abandonment by a mundane path and by a supramundane path. Then on top of that, the modes of abandonment by a supramundane path, again, there are two types. Then the modes of abandonment of the object of abandonment corresponding to the individual paths. So regarding to this, then there is corresponding to the individual paths. And the difference between the objects of abandonment of the path of seeing and meditations and the modes of abandoning afflictive obscurations and knowledge obscurations. So they are, it involves many, many knowledge to understand all of this. So if we do not study the compendium of knowledge or the treasure of knowledge, then it's kind of difficult for us to understand all these for the time being. So we will look into this in the future.
That you will also do a tomating. I want that you move Kanda was a shilling of the dealer some as well. Then you move to Kanda. You are told me about the Kanda Kanda. Late Shapa don't have to chin down the Banashi. Roa. I'm also pay for 2 minutes. 2 cities and Manamage part of pay. Also pay Taba Toma Jinki. Roa. Tabaya 12 Roma Jinki. Don't get up on the Jinki citizen. You move the race. Roa. You move it. Dungal pe zola me ba tindi kangi nyonga ta nyumude ta nyumude do de pa taw ni me ba soyage de lodi de de ba nomji de ba chang sama ge nyumude pa taw ni me ba chu do yage de che bo re se wa de che bo re ta nyumude thang da la ne de anda ro nyumude thang da la nyumude pe zho bo na ji sum de de yu na zo le ji ba des ma zo pe ni dunga ta bo nyonga de so so de je pa ma de so la pa when it is all a chip and the Jean, Yawaton hate to Jep Amala of the Sulabe, Jep and Zimbaina, I noble, Nashi, I should tell his he changes the Peshua. I changes it be our love like you said, when the Chanju will say Jerry, I don't know the Chagua, she Jep and Zimba. What the Ligila, Namji that Dimbaina, and some of the returning, the lega the Chase was a Wakanda. The love Yellow.
So here is the vice. Here is the vice. So having strongly tied us with thousands of nooses of karma to the prisons of cyclical existence since beginningless time, the enemies who torture us with hundreds of unbearable sufferings and agonies are certainly the afflictions themselves. So here, the advice here is to remind us or to tell us that afflictions is the one that binds us to samsara since beginningless time, and because of afflictions that we cannot achieve liberations up to this point, and because of afflictions that we experience different numberless rebirth from the very top of the samsara down to the rebirth in unrelenting hell and experience the intolerable suffering. So if we, so Elias, who is more foolish than one who holds this enemy from beginningless time as his dear friend, planting him at the center of his heart, but who as enemy is kind father and mother sentient beings, these 6 types of migrators. So again, it tells us that we should hold these afflictions as our enemy, because of regarding these afflictions as our friends, then we experience all sorts of sufferings in samsara. So we must regard afflictions as our enemy, and then we must hold those who benefit us, like for example, kind fathers and mother sentient beings, as our friends instead of as our enemies. So here also shows the importance of cherishing others.
But all my good and Nipa good did not to be my show about also say that say you also say you want to that under the also water, Shepada, Changada, so someone also pay Loja chair or what? A Loja chair was that is a Loja chair. The control ending, Ajar and the necessary and the Kavi teacher about Sherry Tom, impossible. And the Kasha Jenny Sherry, Chewasanji, then also due to go my or that in the Jutu was that That then this also say you pay matching the paying years soon, more some of the summer town. This also the singy to pay ala, pay. So the singy gila, Mandri Bachile with the station watching all candidate live with do some, so the dingy, where's so much in it. Yes, so much in it. That deal about Kati actually, Montisho that done over the wash actually. Roa, or the DJ, Sena Yagoria Mado. They sing in the edge, some pound with a mother. They tell us the pet, Tonga Mambo Sama, Chiva Yumaris, they should have paid to Maris. I don't know
So we have covered these 51 mental factors, and then we talked about the nature or the nature of the mental factors, the difference between the mental factors, and also the enumerations or the divisions of the mental factors. So when we talk about this, after since we have already gone through these 51 mental factors, then just identifying it, or this is anger, this is pride, and this is harmful intent, then is not enough. So if you just verbally identified it, it is not enough, because verbally identifying what mental factors it is or afflictions it is, it cannot tame your mind. So in order to tame your mind, in order to counteract those afflictions, then you study them. So you must have the intentions to counteract those mental factors, negative, mental afflictions. You must have this in your mind to counteract those mental afflictions, and then you study them, you recognize them, and you identify them.
But then, what the Chico just do the job in Dole, that's on you to my song. Do I? And then the rather zombie chew, Mamush, John's my chew shiva day. That you're on the chew the tail is that turby dentala, someone time with dentala, bone in the Tessan goes a Yamada, she will attend that day. And then the Tessan goes a Yamada, Majibana, Keva Tambati, Shajan, Yakanda, the Nebagi, me Mamboja Sane, me Mamboja Sa, Sawan Masavina, Masavan, the need to say to Marwas. What the Keva Chibo, Keva Mamboja Sa. Mambo Chip, I may conjure Tama Lutus or whatever, danger Yonzo with church Sanda. The Yonzo be Kevin, then sound like chili never chip one. Tessan was a ribbon on the G never enough. Then you mentioned the Maria said, here you are, here you are. That's also good. Saint Judiada, this also Gila Topa Chela, which then you got to Maria said. Never, when near the Silvina, me Tebana, she made it, which you don't Sagrova. What Pichi Mata, Masavina didn't need so to Maridina,
From the King of Meditative Concentration Sutra, it says, although I have explained the good doctrine, and if you do not put it into practice correctly after having heard it, then you are like a sick person who clutches a bag of medicines but is unable to cure his sickness. So we have listened to the teachings already. So and this verse shows us that we must not listen to it only. We must listen and then conjoin it with contemplating and meditations. So these three, listening, contemplation, and meditations, are indivisible. So you must practice these three together. So if you only listen to the teachings, then even if you listen to the Gangyu, even if you listen to the Tengyu, then if you do not practice it, or if you do not conjoin this listening of the teachings with contemplating and meditating, then it will be like a patient who hold on to a bag of medicines, who collect a lot of medicines, and you just hold it without eating it. Then by doing so, your sickness cannot be cured. So even though you listen to the teachings, Gangyu and Tengyu, then you receive the benefits. However, your mind will not be tamed by just listening to it.
That is what Kanda Tenda Dodo things Jabido, Tessango Yamada, Tenda Dodo the delay. That didn't also be Hasaku in Dole to Suda, Parangi, Masu Tebal Pesha. Teba Chibu in Reed and this is some of Debaina, Paran Hindi Shuba Baba de Rongamo. They pay taps in Simbachena. They integrate Dumara, Paran, Papi Hinshu, Papa digging ammo the that they thing ammo the sugar incident, dig insiba, Tata Yileg Mares. Teba Chibo Tashin in Dig Mares. And when it's in the road, you would know Buena. The pronunciation none running what the rest. None when it done it, no more running boy, I shouldn't none of the rest. Well, that day, none of the current patients. Teba Nashi, sound like that person, somebody, Bomba Nigga. Oh, dear. Then you got the Majibana, Teba Kiboji, the Dejana, the Mazanga, and the Maris, then the Maris, then a Choshi Maris, then patient, no pronunciation. No more, she no more, popping no more than now the Nimo no more, didn't patient, she no more so idea, Teba Kibola some time. Taking Jiba Geneta and that, what you will.
So basically, this verse from King of Meditation, Meditative Concentration Sutra shows the importance of practicing. So it shows the importance of engaging in listening, contemplating, and meditations together, indivisible. And then the exhortation to the exceptional resolve says that the bark of the sugarcane has no essence whatsoever. The taste that is the object of joy dwells inside. Through eating the bark, the delicious taste of the sugarcane cannot be gained. So again, if we only eat the bark of the sugarcane, then we are not going to we will not be satisfied with the taste, right? So that refers to just listening to the Dharma alone. And if we want to get the sweet taste of the sugarcane, then we must conjoin with the listening with contemplation and meditations that lies inside.
That is the shit that Kanda, so that the Gida Magiwa, more Kandimi, so some of the Dutch and London because so Yane Jodi, that when Yane at Sena Jatubachi, Chegodes, the Stanis or the Kaliji, the Susudilla, and you would have relation at the Kaliji, Sanity, Unity, the Charity, Kundori, Najaris, some of the Nursing Bachin. Nursune, they call Kundori, the Kundori, and Nursing Baina, little upon near mother. Also Savada, Shambat, you go to stay. They how you are. When you move to Karchin and you move the nursing about yes, Roa. They nursing a little upon Nimbo, the Temata Katu, Lamsan Nimbo to get to my chambers. Roa, that depends one on nobody to go. This over the Roa, hearing city, sharing Roa. Nimbo to buy the Nimbo, Lansati, you move to buy the Lansako nursing back in the Katu Balansa Nimbo to Waina. They are wishing you yes. That's the old Malay worship.
Yeah. So through becoming skilled in the classifications of virtue and non-virtue, as explained above, at the time of endeavoring single-pointedly in the practice of the stages of the path to enlightenment, repeatedly examine your own continuum in order to recognize root and secondary afflictions that have been explained above. And if these afflictions arise, having recognized them, immediately overcome them with the antidotes. So after we have learned about these mental afflictions and also the mental factors, then we must be able to put it into practice. So we talk about the 6 root afflictions, then we have to identify them when they arise. So after you identify them, then you must apply antidotes immediately to get rid of them. Like for example, if anger arises, then you immediately identify it to be anger, then you eliminate it with patience and loving kindness.
But the general dictators, the Chegres and Gomulumati, John, the heating Sirua, saying the children sell the dollars, that Kindua, Sijua, or that didn't make another Sichilama, the Shijabu, you know, that about Dodo Katuji, that Kanda, Chidang also miso Sindajina, meet the loose condition of Sudan, Sujita, and also to Manda, Kashis, Lamso. Is a Manda, so Cardon Rabin, Cardon Aboda, Mikis Maboda, Seboda, Suda, Soda Mandawa, E Mandawa, Cardon Mandawa, Namji Mandawa, Mambo Yurwa. Then say to Lape, Kam Mandawa, Kandamiba Mandawa, Mambo to the Wood essay. That the Niji Mambo, Yobaji, Yoba Shija. Or that the Niji Yoba in a, they can't. 다 상호 된다 도도도 가버 땅 것이나 된다 도도 간다가 이어데 이나 다 된데 용초고래 마다 용초고 이나 다 소소 지라베 너무 나오던 드럼 칸소 텔레그레스 카다 매바 만다와 밀 수지 만다와 mam보요와 소자 이 카다 매바 만다 mam보 카다 매바 만다 mam보에서 이 소소 난도 만다 mam보 리그레스 난도 만다 mam보 리그레스 와 다 담보되지
And the protector Nagarjuna says in letter to a friend, know that the mind is like drawing made on water, earth, or stone. From among these, in regard to the afflicted, the first is the best, and in regard to wishing for the Dharma, the last. So in relation to this verse, then there are different sorts of sentient beings with different forms, such as those of different colors, those of different shape, and those of different levels of intelligence. And mind as well, they also have different mental dispositions and interests. So and on top of that, since there are so many different types of sentient beings, there are also many different types of afflictions.
제가 단랑도 만들어 먹고 이기를 해서 내가 된다도 들어와 단랑도 만들어 내단데 다 간다 요무 배만다 자녀 두대 니네 해서 먹고 싶어서 와 어다 뜻을 진정게 단랑도 만들어 담미난소 레고래 되는난도 간디지 좀바이나 다 간다 출라를 못 집어다 살아를 못 집어다 돌아 꾸지는 못 집어 대송아 빼잖아 그래서 다 간다 로아 다 나서 가르 부르스나 출라 리모트 바나시 제고래 타시 제고래 해서 타시 간데 타시 제고스나 수속질라 논도 컨트롤다 나제다 차당 질레오디 레바다 라상 무슨 바제네 데 출라 리모트 바나시 제고래 타시 제고사 데 라사들 네모 카도 짜고래 해서 라사 출라 리모트도 라사 유로로 리모트 출라 도슨 누구 리모트나 라사 출라로 유로로 되게 말아 되게 말했어. 람사 윤도마도 되게 말아. 데 단나도 너무 간지 제바이나 무슨에 람사 철을 못 주바 나시게 다시 전에 매봐서 했어. 어데 맞서 나지데 배인다 제를 맞으니 안세야스 좋아 당도 정서. 넘도 군도 같이는 철을 못 주바 나시 못 주바 윤도 나시 다시 제고에 배서. 데 담보 되지로와. 단나도 간지 남이나서 지나 무슨 바전에 내가 다시 공부 주사로와 출라를 못 주바 나시 라사 유로지 명무들 내봐도 나도 가리를 때 라사 카트 있잖아요 매봐서 그랬어 그 다시 제가 했어 출라를 못 주바 아무 되시
Yeah, so different types of people, then there are different types of afflictions or different types of conceptions. So in these conceptions, then there are afflictions, and afflictions, there are secondary afflictions and root afflictions. So then these conceptions, when conceptions arise or when mental afflictions arise, then it should be like drawing made on the water, earth, or stone. So there are three ways for these conceptions to arise. So when conception arise, then we have three ways to deal with it. So the first way is like drawing on the water. The second one is drawing on earth, and the last one is drawing on stone. So when affliction arise, for example, anger, pride arise, then we should try our best to make it like a drawing on the water. So like when we draw something on the water, then it will just flow away, right? And it doesn't stay. That the drawing that you draw on the water, it doesn't stay, right? So that is how we should deal with mental afflictions. So so by applying the antidotes immediately.
다 가신놈도 답에 너무 차라 신주 관리 레바이나 철을 못 주바 나시 라사 된지 님부터 마투바이나 데 살을 못 주바 나시 차고 했어다 다 살을 맞춘 누구 두스 못 주바이나 살 누구 두스 못 주바이나 주를 못 되고 말이야미 눈티지 제는 거면 봐서는 양 차발라 땅 라사 매봐서는 그러와 주를 못 되고 말와 어따 철을 못 주바 나시 님부까지 때 마투바이나 다 살을 못 주바 나시 때 살을 못 주바 나시 때 내봐서 님부터 도와지 차고 했어다 디스 주리와 와 철을 못 주바 살을 못 주바 디스 주리와 되고요 디스 주리와 다 간다 다 데니 나노 내봐도 님부터 도와지 차고 했어 다 간다 와 가슴님보다 땡투바나 칠러 모티바나시 랑사면 가서 차도야지. 내가 마지막 칠러 모티바나시 소마토바나 뱃살러 모티바 나시 내가 스마트 데마도야지. 어디지 때문에 해서 왔다가나.
Yeah, so as I mentioned just now, when afflictions arise, then we should deal with it like drawing on the water. So in other words, is we should try our best to apply antidotes immediately in order to get rid of it, so that they do not last for a long time. So if we cannot apply, if we are unable to apply antidotes on those afflictions, then like drawing on the water, in other words, is immediately apply antidotes to get rid of it. Then if we are unable to do so, then we must at least make it like a drawing on the earth. So drawing on earth or on the sand, for example. So whatever afflictions that arise, then if you're unable to apply antidotes immediately, then you make it like a drawing on the earth. So even though it stays, but it will not stay for a long time. Like for example, if rain can ruin it, and then if you can also use your hand to wipe it away, so that it will not stay. So however, in compared to the first one, drawing on the water, the second one, the afflictions last a bit longer.
당어도 dollar 모티브의 컨디션에서나 다들 손 넘도 너무 컨디션에나 또서로 카테자와 게이 삼바 게이로 컨디션 중바이나 다 도들라 꾸게는 가서 뭐 내가 들고 막 돌라 꾸게는 모티브한테 도데 마차지 봐도 모티 가는 내가 잡고요. 좋아. 다 간다. 기신 코마 돈지 봐도 간다 수수급에 간다 게이스로 삼바 컨디션 바이나 때에 dollar 모티브 나시 때문에 야고 해서 뒤돌아 상호 때보다는 야구를 해서 대야 공배 땅야마도 대 간다 막 때문에 야 공배 땅을 해서 돌아를 모티브 나시 나니 가서 이제 대도 배시오리 최다를 모티브 나시 마치 돌아를 모티브 나시 제시서 가서 밑tempo 그 밑tempo 열에서 돌아를 모티브 나시 그 tempo 요 마치를 모티브 나시에서 나지 배트 시오와
기빌로야 기빌 삼바데니 딩요몽 카데자위
오 너무나 카데자이 기 삼바 기로 간디 중반에 dollar 모티브 나시 tempo지 나 그래서 야마 남차만도 야 오늘 본다 패트야지.
And the last one is drawing on stone. So drawing on stone is it doesn't really mean like drawing on stone. It means more like carving on stone. So carving on stone, we should make our virtuous thoughts. We should make our virtuous thought that counteracts afflictions, like a carving on stone. So when we cover a picture on the stone until this stone breaks, then the picture stays, right? So similarly, these virtuous thought that I generate in order to counteract mental afflictions must be like carving on the stone. So last until the end of the cycle existence and increase it more and more. So this is what carving on stone refers to.
오단 고블을 뜻이 당나서 제르모치기 쉐이더드 찬스 거거든요. 제르모치 간다 에디송도와 타마비 드라세와들와 타마비 드라세와들 마주다 지당 드라세 파 렌지 소소로페 나나츠 드라일레바이나 파코 카파 카테전에 소소 토바이나 코파 땅토바이나 간자질레야 코 쉐다고 도보라서 받던 리르베 웅디네 코 니바니바이나 양자 칠레고 해서 코 칠레야 니가 요리스와 칠레야 니가 요리스 어따 녀무스와도 가서 다 소소 야보 소소 녀무도 외송 미바간이메 니미간이메 창자 외송도 전에 예소소 들파냐 뭐 카티잖아 되면 봐 있어봐이나 되면 봐서는 세안절이야 요 말이스 때때 몇째 맛이 바이나 코 빵가보 요리스 콜네 뭐 카티잖아 몇째 전에 거기 님이다 코 미바다 코 남바 간지 창자 외송 받을 때 콜라 카티잖아 보면 봐서 그랬어 드레도와
And Lama Tsongkhapa says, although you may get rid of an ordinary enemy temporarily, when he has regained his strength by retiring to another country, he will retaliate. So the normal enemies, then if you chase them from a country, then they will group out there and then gather their enemies, and then they will retaliate and they will come back and fight, right? So however, afflictions are different. So if you are able to get rid of afflictions from their root, if you uproot them, uproot the afflictions by properly recognizing properly identifying them, understand their object of observations, their faults, their antidotes, etc. So if you uproot the afflictions, then lacking another place to go, they will not make a comeback. Nonetheless, since we make no effort to destroy the afflictions that recur, so however, because of us not applying effort to destroy the afflictions, that's why afflictions come again and again. Yeah, so just as it has been said above, at all times during the actual sessions as well as the session breaks, again and again examine your own mind and rely upon the antidote to whichever affliction has arisen. This is the principal training in virtue and excellent essential point. Likewise, be mindful of the manner in which one must generate the corresponding modes on the various occasions of training in virtue. So what it means is when we do meditations or during the actual sessions, then we meditate very well, and then we are very careful with our mind so that those mental afflictions do not arise. However, during the post meditations, so after we rise up from the meditation sessions, then when we go to work, etc., then we let all sorts of mental afflictions arise, such as anger, jealousy, then this is not correct. This is not a proper way to practice. So even during the post-meditation sessions, we must be careful with the mental afflictions as well. If any mental afflictions arise, then we must be able to identify it and immediately apply antidotes to get rid of it. So by cultivating the virtuous mind. So we must cause this virtuous mind to manifest to counteract those mental afflictions. So basically, during our when we are sleeping, when we are walking, when we are walking and when we are eating, then we must be mindful with our mind and then apply antidotes if necessary when the afflictions arise. So this is very important. And otherwise, if we meditate, during the meditation, then we meditate very well, and then when we come out from the meditation sessions, then we let all sorts of mental afflictions to arise, and this is not a proper way to do so.
This is what's about that is also the
Yeah. So then, for example, if we happily go and receive teachings from His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Khyentse Lama Zopa Rinpoche, for example, then even after we receive the teachings, we go to a mountain and then we do meditation, we do retreat there, and then we do meditations, etc. So after we finish the retreat and we come back home, then when we deal with our family members, then we get angry immediately. So, and all sorts of mental afflictions arises when we deal with our family members. And this is not correct, because the family members, they will think that, wow, what a Dharma practitioners, you went for those Dharma activities and you come back like this, then they will also feel weird about it, right? So if we, if we were to do anything negative, if we were to do any misdeeds in relation to them, then it's something very shameful, right? So we must be careful.
Yeah, that is so Robaina, Gojebaina, Robaina, Dubaina, Savaina, Tumbaina, Chana, some of the Tanto Pachigore. You got a Chansajila, Roa. So, should to be Jambicada, Go Jibicada, Desan Chivo Marwa. Desan Jina, Desan Tis Taurako. Mission accusation and Ramana medicine, Heredity, that's a Netsani Yomari, Roa. Oh, that Kawandona, Kisozona Chivo.
Yeah, so otherwise, if others tease us, if we get angry, tease us, then we get angry immediately, then they will even say that probably you do not go and do meditations or go for retreat in order to achieve any. You don't really what you actually achieve from the retreat. It seems like it's the anger. So yeah, then they might tease us like that, or what you what you achieve from the retreat is actually the anger, not Dharma practice or not tame mind. So it doesn't seem like you do retreat in order to tame your mind. You go for the teachings in order to learn Dharma. It doesn't seem like that. It seems like you actually achieve anger from the retreat or from the teachings. So, and if we are not careful with our actions or behavior, then others might tease us and even criticize the Dharma practitioners. So it will happen. Therefore, we have to be very careful. So basically, when we learn Dharma, when we practice Dharma, then we must practice Dharma in our daily activities. When we eat, when we drink, when we walk, when we sit down, we must think about Dharma. We must practice Dharma in those daily activities. And practicing Dharma is not just in the sessions of listening to the Dharma or in the Dharma teaching sessions. So that would be easier to so-called practice Dharma, like because everyone is listening to the teachings, kind of sitting quiet and do not have much actions, etc. That would be easier to practice Dharma. However, that is not the actual meaning of practicing Dharma. Practicing Dharma must be in our daily activities, daily life.
Dhamma tsajingda kanki shuyada nanda ita jirma tsichichinda hinda baka ina genji mundu poka tojita malinjo wandu dikitola jayala mataba daju chi use indija to be member of Bochi broken the power chuchi use that is sabachi wa
so Kishla has recite all the words up to this point already, and then Geshe-la will recite some words from the beginning for auspiciousness.
Sensible Pechum should that conduct was Lani Chimon Matan, Kawajana. That is so 반년보 카티 짜서다 세세지 눈을 창다디는 레는 좋아. 어다든 가서 세세지야 조어디지로와. 이 상황에 나리 다디 세세지 된 가서 나리 가서 냐래를 맞자도 것이고 그래. 이 장한 것이고 좋아.
So we complete mind and mental factors. So this text, mind and mental factors, is also a very important text for us to study. And we also have to make sure that we conjoin whatever we learned in relation to the in dependence on this text with the practice of stages of path to enlightenment. So because in this text it talks about the antidotes to counteract certain mental afflictions, so we must conjoin this understanding with the practice of stages of the path to enlightenment. So before we recite prayers for Rinpoche, then we have question and answer. We have few question and answer before we start reciting prayers for Rinpoche.
Tadi jail job by the jail mazote Shiranimo, Samavita, and the Sudo Church, Shiranimo has a Shishindo, Nimbo Dodo Yodo Mendo, in the jail, the Shiranimo chair is law. That's some of the pay, Shuya Bujeris law, that Tibachimo pay, Taparishimazo, that jail Malarino, Negre, Antogala, that company to tell you, don't Mendes or the Shiranimo, to each other.
Yeah, so so after this module, the next module that we're going to study is Heart Sutra. So Heart Sutra is the essence of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, and it's also a very important and famous, well-known text as well. And this Heart Sutra is also especially related to the topic of special insight.
Gisela, I have a question to ask, please.
Yes.
In the 5 omnipresent factor that's listed from feeling all the way down to mental engagement, when the mind looks at something, does the 5 omnipresent factor comes in that order from feeling, or it can be in any other as long as the 5 are present?
Kununga yoro agila. Kununga sa te choa tu she semba je patang gila cheba na te. Many pina chashina sim jige ang yu jila mi wai na. Sim gi yu ji mi she. Many ti kununga te yang di nang shin choa tu she semba je pa gila cheba. Rimba di nang shin legi yo na yang na di kaza rimba yang di mimba. Kanda ni di chama de yang legi res. 군동아디 아니 지미지 짐바디 나오신
다 림바스나 코라 세 코라 미르데 군동아디 덴데 가르페 바리스는 전략이 좀 말로와 바리스도 내가 말했고 안다 세 지기 예들 미우디 딱된 코드시 군동아가 다람이고 대가로 덴도 그러와 대가로 그래 근데 림바스는 기체고 말이고와.
Yeah, so when the mind focuses on something, these 5 omnipresent factors are present. However, they are not necessarily present in this order.
Thank you.
That's true. Maybe in a much shedding that is still.
Sheila, I have a question regarding the 6 perfections. How did the perfection came about? Is it influenced by bodhicitta or realization of emptiness? Thank you.
So any departing to be a cola any condition use any patching to say de kandi yung to reza yang chanchu is same simaina yang na atungi to share simainas.
더 파시도 먼저 이미 바로 좀 말해서 레렌 맞아 보고 Jimba 돈에 바로도 심바.
이네 파진 용당 야네 파진 죽당 세대 장주 이심기 심기요나 야나 또 많이 이기
무슨 심바 제보랬어. 맞아. 냐네 가리지는 장주고 생기 심바 제보랬어. 내 제보에는 내가 파지도 니가 채우고 그랬어. 파지도 냐네 간디지는 다 니가 채우고 그랬어. 장주고 생기 마심바이나 내 니가 지랄리 두고 말했어. 장주고 생당가서 셰럽지 돈이도 그 셰럽지 심바지 그거 땅가서 기자 간디 두고는 내 심바지 중바이나 또 뭐네 단에 다 논좀 해 봐. 셰럽지 심바이나 논주치는 내가 차고 간다 가서 냐네 간디 제보나 너야는 처음 해 봐. 위다고 차고. 다 장주고 생데 땅가서 상지지 공부도야 이제 자와치 차도 버와. 다 되게 봐지 고랬어. 생도 같이.
also kana ini because di jangchu iseng da tumi to be share up di ni di yo aina any pachin di do to res
네. 다 니가 여바이나 답에 쇼지랬어. 난다 요 말했어.
also chojila di yo ai choji simgyo na yang di to maro pachin sa
도 말.
also yeah, so six perfections comes about from these two together, bodhicitta and emptiness, wisdom realizing emptiness. Bodhicitta is the main cause, and wisdom realizing emptiness, if you also have to be infused with wisdom realizing emptiness. If you infuse any practice with wisdom realizing emptiness, then your practice will be unmistaken. So basically you have to rely on bodhicitta and wisdom realizing emptiness in order to achieve these six perfections.
배샤바이나 가서 길 배샤바이나 짐바도 땅바이나 그러와 근데 짐바 땅바이나 때 신신지기 체도 파상당내로 자주세 신신지기 체도 파상당내 진비기 제대로 히지 마두비 랑이 주반 자니 메바치 근데 제 상당부터네 때 짐바 땅바이나 뭐다 돈이도 비히로다 자주세니가 있으니고.
Yeah, so for example, generosity. So when we practice giving, then it must be infused with bodhicitta. So it means that when we give for the welfare of other sentient beings. We give something for the welfare of sentient beings. And when we give the object something to others, then we must infuse with wisdom realizing emptiness, realize that object or that gift is lacking of inherent existence. That gift itself is lack of inherent existence. So if you infuse the practice, if you infuse the giving with bodhicitta, give for the welfare of other sentient beings, and infuse with wisdom realizing emptiness, that the gift that you give to others is lack of inherent existence, then it becomes very powerful. Yeah, so if you do like what I say, then your practice of giving will be infused with bodhicitta and wisdom realizing emptiness.
Thank you, Kishila.
So if you don't have questions, then we will proceed to reciting prayers for Rinpoche. Tara mantra.
Ture Soha, Om Tare
to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture Soha, Soha, Om Tare to Dare Ture 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 Soha. Repeated praise to 21 Taras. Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Daripa Mo Tarai Chikun Se Ma Tiri Tuna Taji De Ma Swai Ge Chara Om Jesu Ma Pama Juma La Chai Sa Lo Tesa Juma Matare Pamo, Tara Jukasema, Tiritana Tajema, so I get Yarap, Jeju Mapa Mulacha, Zalu, Matare Pamo, Tara Jukusema, Tiritana Tajema, so I get Yarap, Jeju Mapa Mulacha, Zalu, Matare Pamo, Tara Jukusema, Tiritana Tajema, so I get Yarap. Jeju ma pa ma la cha za lo jeju ma ta re pa mo ta ra ji ku se ma ti ri ta ta se ma so ai ki cha ra tu om jeju ma la cha za lo jeju ma ta re pa mo ta ra ji ku se ma ti ri ta ta se ma so ai ki cha ra tu jeju ma pa ma la cha za lo jeju ma ta re pa mo ta ra ji ku se ma ti ri ta ta se ma so ai ki cha ra tu om jeju ma pa ma la cha za lo jeju ma ta re pa mo ta ra ji ku se ma ti ri ta ta se ma so ai ki cha ra tu om jeju ma pa ma la cha Salo, Jeju Matare Pamo, Taranjuse, Matri, Tata Ma, so I get Yarab, Jeju Ma, Malacha, Salo, Jeju Matare Pamo, Taranjuse, Matri, Tata Ma, Bigesh Yarab, Jeju Ma, Malacha, Salo, Jeju Matare Pamo, Taranjuse, Matri, Tata Ma, so I get Yarab.
Vajrasattva mantra.
Om Bezasato Samaya, Manobalaya, Bezasato Dinobadita, Tito Mebawa, Sutokayo Mebawa, Supokayo Mebawa, Anurado Mebawa, Sawasiti Mebayasa, Savakama Sutame, Chita Suyam Kuruhum, Ha 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 Ho Bhagava, Savatata Kata, Pizama Memuza, Pizabawa Ma, Samaya Sato Ahum, Om Bezasato Samaya, Manobalaya, Bezasato Dinobadita, Tito Mebawa, Sutokayo Mebawa, Supokayo Mebawa, Anurado Mebawa, Sawasiti Mebayasa, Savakama Sutame, Chidam Shuyam Kuruhum, Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan, Savatata Kata, Pizama Memuza, Pizabawa Ma, Samaya Sato Ahum, Om Bezasato Samaya, Manubalaya, Bezasato Dinomatita, Tito Mebawa, Sudokayo Mebawa, Subokayo Mebawa, Anurado Mebawa, Sawasiti Mebayasa, Savakama Sutame, Chidam Shuyam Kuruhum, Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan, Savatata Kata, Pizama Memuza, Pizabawa Ma, Samaya Sato Ahum, Om Bezasato Samaya, Manubalaya, Bezasato Dinomatita, Kayame Bawa, Subakayame Bawa, Anurado Mebawa, Sawasiti Mebayasa, Savakama Sutame, Chidam Suyam Kuruhum, Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan, Savatata Kanda Bawa, Samaya Sato Ahum, Om Bezasato Samaya, Manubalaya, Bezasata Dinopatita, Tito Mebawa, Sudokayame Bawa, Subakayame Bawa, Anurado Mebawa, Sawasiti Mebayasa, Savakama Sutame, Chidam Suyam Kuruhum, Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan, Savatata Kanda Bawa, Samaya Sato Ahum, Bezasato Samaya, Manubalaya, Bezasato Dinopatita, Tito Mebawa, Sudokaya Mebawa, Subokayo Mebawa, Anurado Mebawa, Sawasiti Mebayasa, Savakama Sutame, Chidam Suyam Kuruhum, Ha 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 Ho Bhagava, Savatata Kata Bezama Memuza, Bezabawa Ma, Samaya Sato Ahum, Om Bezasato Samaya, Manubalaya, Bezasato Dinopatita, Tito Mebawa, Sudokaya Mebawa, Subokayo Mebawa, Anurado Mebawa, Sawasiti Mebayasa, Savakama Sutame, Chidam Suyam Kuruhum, Ha Ha Ho Bhagavan, Savatata Kata Bezama Memuza, Bezabawa Ma, Samaya Sato Ahum, Om Bezasato Samaya, Manubalaya, Bezasato Dinopatita, Tito Mebawa, Subakaya Mebawa, Subakaya Mebawa, Anurado Mebawa, Sawasiti Mebayasa, Savakama Sutame, Bhagavan Savatata Kata Bezama Memuza, Bezabawa Ma, Samaya Sato Ahum, Om Bezasato Samaya, Manubalaya, Bezasato Dinopatita, Tito Mebawa, Subakaya Mebawa, Subakaya Mebawa, Anurado Mebawa, Sawasiti Mebayasa, Savakama Sutame, Chidam Suyam Kuruhum, Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan, Savatata Kata Bezama Memuza, Bezabawa Ma, Samaya Sato Ahum, Om Bezasato Hum, 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 Om Om Bezasato Om Om Bezasato Om Om Bezasato Om
Om
Bezasato Om Om Bezasato Om Om Bezasato Om Om Bezasato Om Om Bezasato Om Om Bezasato Om Om Bezasato Om Om Bezasato Om Om Bezasato Om Bezasato Om 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 Bezasato Om 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 Bezasato Om 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 Bezasato Om 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 Bezasato Om 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 Bezasato Om Bezasato Om Om Bezasato Om Om Bezasato Om Om Bezasato Om Bezasato Om Om Bezasato Om Om Bezasato Om Bezasato Om 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 Bezasato Om Om Bezasato
Sambhasan Duma. The prayer to Guru Rinpoche that spontaneously fulfills all wishes. Emaho, in the Wajin, blissful pure realm of the West, Amitabha's compassionate blessing was aroused, and he blessed his emanation, Bema Sambhawa, to come into this world to bring benefit to all beings. Compassionate one, you never cease to bring us health and well-being. To the lotus-born Guru of Ogyen, we pray, grant your blessing so all our wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. All the Dharma kings, from Gyel-tsen down to the very end of the royal line, through our past, present, and future, know your constant blessing. You are the only protection for rulers who follow Dharma as in Tibet. Compassionate one, you safeguard the lands that practice Dharma. To the lotus-born Guru of Ogyen, we pray, grant your blessing so all our wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. While your wisdom body subjugates the Rakshasas in the southwest, you look on sentient beings everywhere with compassion. Magnificent guide for sentient beings led astray by ignorance. Skillfully you teach them with their emotions so difficult to tame. Compassionate one, your love is constant in its kindness and care. To the lotus-born Guru of Ogyen, we pray, grant your blessing so all our wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Now, when this degenerate dark age reaches its final depths, at dawn and dusk you come for those that have devotion, riding on the rays of the rising and setting sun, and on the 10th day of the waxing moon, you come in person. Compassionate one, you act with vast power to help all beings. To the lotus-born Guru of Ogyen, we pray, grant your blessing so all our wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Now in this dark age, the age of conflict, the final era of 500 parts, the 5 poisons of the negative emotions grow ever more violent in all sentient beings. Recklessly we indulge in destructive emotions and let the poisons dominate our minds. At a time like this, let your compassion be our refuge and protection. Compassionate one, you lead those with devotion to the higher realms. To the lotus-born Guru of Ogyen, we pray. Grant your blessing so all our wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. When terrifying armies of oppression encircle us, menacing the great centers of Dharma with destruction, with no trace of doubt or hesitation we pray, O Guru Rinpoche, with your retinue of the 8 classes of gods and demons, you will repel aggressors and their armies. Of these we have no doubt. To the lotus-born Guru of Ogyen we pray, grant your blessing so all our wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. When sickness strikes to destroy the fragile bodies of sentient beings, when diseases plunge us into unbearable suffering and agony, with no trace of doubt or hesitation we pray, O Guru Rinpoche, embodiment of the Buddha of medicine, you will remove the obstacles that bring untimely death. To the lotus-born Guru of Ogyen we pray, grant your blessing so all our wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. When nature turns against us and earth resources fail, when sentient beings are tormented by the plague of famine, with no trace of doubt or hesitation we pray, O Guru Rinpoche, with all your dakinis and deities of prosperity, you will dispel all deprivation, all hunger and thirst. Of these we have no doubt. To the lotus-born Guru of Ogyen we pray, grant your blessing so all our wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. When the destined regulars retrieve hidden treasures for the benefit of beings, courageous and confident of our pure unbroken samaya, with no trace of doubt or hesitation, we pray. O Guru Rinpoche, inseparable from our Yidam deity, you will ensure the true heirs receive their father's treasure. Of these we have no doubt. To the lotus-born Guru of all game, we pray. Grant your blessings so all our wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. When traveling through hidden lands, forests, and deserted places, when our way is blocked and we are cut off by storms, by rain and snow, with no trace of doubt or hesitation, we pray. O Guru Rinpoche, surrounded by mighty local deities, you will lead us practitioners to the right path. Of these we have no doubt. To the lotus-born Guru of Ogyen, we pray. Grant your blessings so all our wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. When vicious wild animals menace us, tigers, leopards, bears, and poisonous snakes, on our way through terrifying passes, wild and desolate places, with no trace of doubt or hesitation, we pray. O Guru Rinpoche, along with your kings, warriors, and protectors, you will drive off these ferocious creatures. Of these we have no doubt. To the lotus-born Guru of Ogyen, we pray. Grant your blessings so all our wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. When obstacles arise in earth, water, fire, and air, to threaten these illusory bodies of ours with destruction, with no trace of doubt or hesitation, we pray. O Guru Rinpoche, with the goddesses of the four elements, you will harmonize the elements into their natural state. Of these we have no doubt. To the lotus-born Guru of Ogyen, we pray. Grant your blessing so all our wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. When traveling on dangerous routes, if murderers, bandits, and robbers attack us, with no trace of doubt or hesitation, we pray. O Guru Rinpoche, through your realization of the four mudras, you will dispel the terror of all brutality and greed. To the lotus-born Guru of Ogyen, we pray. Grant your blessing so all our wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. When faced by killers on all sides who threaten us with lethal weapons, with no trace of doubt or hesitation, we pray. O Guru Rinpoche, the protection of your Vajra tent will cause killers to panic and weapons to be scattered. To the lotus-born Guru of Ogyen, we pray. Grant your blessing so all our wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. When this lifespan is exhausted and we come to die, if we are racked by the intense anguish and pain of dying, with no trace of doubt or hesitation, we pray. O Guru Rinpoche, as you are the emanations of Buddha Amitabha, it is certain we will be born in the blissful pure realm of Devajan. To the lotus-born Guru of Ogyen, we pray. Grant your blessings so all our wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. One day borrowed and illusory body is destroyed in the Bado realm when our deluded experiences and our further delusions arise to make us suffer. With no trace of doubt or hesitation, we pray. O Guru Rinpoche, you know past, present, and future. Through your compassion, you will let all delusions be self-liberated. Of these we have no doubt. To the lotus-born Guru of Ogyen, we pray. Grant your blessing so all our wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. When we are overwhelmed by karma and circumstance and suffer through grasping at delusion as real, with no trace of doubt or hesitation, we pray. O Guru Rinpoche, King of great bliss, you will utterly destroy the delusions that bring happiness, that bring suffering. To the lotus-born Guru of Ogyen, we pray. Grant your blessing so all our wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. When beings of all six realms are tormented by immense pain, and especially when our leaders and people are engulfed in suffering, with intense longing and devotion from the depths of our hearts, with no trace of doubt or hesitation, we pray. O Guru Rinpoche, with your unchanging, unwavering compassion, watch over us. The lotus-born Guru of Ogyen, we pray. Grant your blessing so all our wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. The supplication to Guru Rinpoche clearing the obstacles on the path. Om Ahum Penza Guru Pema Siddhi Hum. Tamakaya Amitabha, I supplicate you. Sambhogakaya, great compassionate one, I supplicate you. Nimanakaya Pemakara, I supplicate you. My Guru, wonderful Nimanakaya. In the land of India, you were born, you studied and contemplated. Journeying in person to Tibet, you tamed the demonic forces. Residing in the land of Udayana, you acted for the welfare of beings. Through your kindness, bestow your blessings upon me. Through your affection, guide myself and others on the path. Through your realization, grant me the cities. Through your powers, dispel the obstacles of myself and others. Clear the outer obstacles externally. Clear the inner obstacles internally. Clear the secret obstacles spontaneously. Respectfully, I bow down and take refuge in you. Om Ahum Penza Guru Pema Siddhi Hum. When seeing the wonder of bodily forms, you make the sword mudra with your right hand. With your left, you make the summoning mudra. With gaping mouth, bare fangs, and upward gaze, Gyel-tsen, Lord of Beings, with your kindness, bestow your blessings upon me. With your affection, guide myself and others on the path. With your realization, grant me the cities. With your powers, dispel the obstacles of myself and others. Clear the outer obstacles externally. Clear the inner obstacles internally. Clear the secret obstacles spontaneously. Respectfully, I bow down and take refuge in you. Oma Hum, Benza Guru, Pema Siddhi Hum. When receiving the precious and sacred teachings, your radiant body is endowed with a luminous complexion. Your right hand holds the scriptures of the Tripitaka. Your left holds the volume of Kilaya. You comprehend all the profound teachings, Pandita of Yangdesho. With your kindness, bestow your blessings upon me. With your affection, guide myself and others on the path. With your realization, grant me the cities. With your powers, dispel the obstacles of myself and others. Clear the outer obstacles externally. Clear the inner obstacles internally. Clear the secret obstacles spontaneously. Respectfully, I bow down and take refuge in you. Uma Hum Penza Guru Pema Siddhi Hum. When binding the vow holders under oath at the beautiful and immaculate supreme place at the borderline between India and Tibet, you bestowed your blessings on the moment of arrival. At the mountain with enveloping fragrance, even in winter time, lotus flowers bloom. At this supreme and blissful place, the spring of enlightenment with nectar-like water, Gyel-tsen, dressed in the robes of the Dharma. Your right hand holds the nine-point vajra. Your left holds a jewel casket filled with Ratna nectar. You bound under oath the Dakinis and vow holders. Seeing the Yidam face to face, you accomplish the cities. With your kindness, bestow your blessings upon me. With your affection, guide myself and others on the path. With your realization, grant me the cities. With your powers, dispel the obstacles of myself and others. Clear the outer obstacles externally. Clear the inner obstacles internally. Clear the secret obstacles spontaneously. Respectfully, I bow down and take refuge in you. Oma Hum Penza Guru Pema Siddhi Hum. When establishing the doctrine of the victorious one, you perform sadhana in the forest of the Slate Mountain, throwing your visitation dagger into the sky's expanse. You caught it and rolled with your Vajra Mudra. Rolling, you throw it into the sandalwood forest. The fire ablaze and the lake dry up. Instantly, you burn away all the places of the Titikas and reduce the black ashes to dust. Matchless slayer of demons, with your kindness, bestow your blessings upon me. With your affection, guide myself and others on the path. With your realization, grant me the cities. With your powers, dispel the obstacles of myself and others. Clear the outer obstacles externally. Clear the inner obstacles internally. Clear the secret obstacles spontaneously. Respectfully, I bow down and take refuge in you. Oma Hum Penza Guru Pema Siddhi Hum. When you subjugate the Rakshas, young boy in Nimanakaya attire, wondrous form of goodness with magnificent color, with even teeth and beautiful golden hair, in the manner of a 16-year-old youth, you wear various kinds of jewel ornaments. With your right hand, you hold the dull metal dagger, subjugating the Maras and Rakshas. With your left, you hold the thick dagger, protecting your devoted disciples. Around the neck, you wear the iron dagger, indivisible from the Yidam deity. Non-dual Nimanakaya, ornament of Jambudvipa, with your kindness, bestow your blessings upon me. With your affection, guide myself and others on the path. With your realization, grant me the cities. With your powers, dispel the obstacles of myself and others. Clear the outer obstacles externally. Clear the inner obstacles internally. Clear the secret obstacles spontaneously. Respectfully, I bow down and take refuge in you. Uma Hum Penza Guru Pema Siddhi Hum. When intending to go to the land of ghosts and the area of mass of fire, with the lake the expanse of an arrow shot, upon a lotus, you will cool and refresh, meditating within a lotus flower, known as Pema Samawa. You appear as the perfect Buddha in person, such a wondrous Nimanakaya. With your kindness, bestow your blessings upon me. With your affection, guide myself and others on the path. With your realization, grant me the cities. With your powers, dispel the obstacles of myself and others. Clear the outer obstacles externally. Clear the inner obstacles internally. Clear the secret obstacles spontaneously. Respectfully, I bow down and take refuge in you. Oma Hum Penza Guru Pema Siddhi Hum. When becoming the son of Tibet, glorious guide of devoted beings, you manifested in different forms to tame beings according to their needs. At the Kala Pass in Zhang, you bound Jaha Ginyin under oath at the district of Zasho with 21 haughty Deva Ginyans. You bound under oath at Jamting of Mangyu. You bestow cities on the 4 monks, supreme eminent Vyadara. With your kindness, bestow your blessings upon me. With your affection, guide myself and others on the path. With your realization, grant me the cities. With your powers, dispel the obstacles of myself and others. Clear the outer obstacles externally. Clear the inner obstacles internally. Clear the secret obstacles spontaneously. Respectfully, I bow down and take refuge in you. Oma Hum Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Hum. At the glorious plain of Bemotang, you bound the 12 Denmark goddesses under oath. At the Kala Pass of central Tibet, you bound fleshless white glacier under oath. At Tamsho Fabu Ningdung, you bound Tangla Yashu under oath. At the very summit of Hepuri, you bound all the Devas and Rakshas under oath. Of all these great Devas and demons, some offered the core of their life force, some undertook guarding the teachings, and some pledged to be servants, mighty one with powers and miracles. With your kindness, bestow your blessing upon me. With your affection, guide myself and others on the path. With your realization, grant me the cities. With your powers, dispel the obstacles of myself and others. Clear the outer obstacles externally. Clear the inner obstacles internally. Clear the secret obstacles spontaneously. Respectfully, I bow down and take refuge in you. Oma Hum, Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Hum. When establishing the doctrine of the sacred Dharma like a banner of victory, some year without being erected was spontaneously accomplished. And you fulfill the wishes of the king, you were endowed with the names of 3 great beings. One was Pemakara, one was Pemasambhava, and one was late-born Vajra. Your secret name was Doje Dapoze. With your kindness, bestow your blessings upon me. With your affection, guide myself and others on the path. With your realization, grant me the city. With your powers, dispel the obstacles of myself and others. Clear the outer obstacles externally. Clear the inner obstacles internally. Clear the secret obstacles spontaneously. Respectfully, I bow down and take refuge in you. Oma Hum Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Hum. As Samye Chimbu, when practicing sadhana, you repel negative conditions and bestow the cities. You establish the king and ministers on the path of liberation and cause the born doctrine negativity in manifest form to wane. You show the precious and immaculate Dhammakaya and place the destined ones in Buddhahood. With your kindness, bestow your blessings upon me. With your affection, guide myself and others on the path. With your realization, grant me the cities. With your powers, dispel the obstacles of myself and others. Clear the outer obstacles externally. Clear the inner obstacles internally. Clear the secret obstacles spontaneously. Respectfully, I bow down and take refuge in you. Oma Hum Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Hum. Having left for the land of Ugyen, you now subdue the Rakshas. Your great qualities surpass any human being. Your actions are wonderful and amazing. Mighty one with powers and miracles. With your kindness, bestow your blessings upon me. With your affection, guide myself and others on the path. With your realization, grant me the cities. With your powers, dispel the obstacles of myself and others. Clear the outer obstacles externally. Clear the inner obstacles internally. Clear the secret obstacles spontaneously. Respectfully, I bow down and take refuge in you. Oma Hum Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Hum. Possessing the body, speech, and mind, you are the glorious guide of beings. Having discarded all obscurations, you perceive the 3 realms vividly. Having achieved the supreme city, sublime body of great bliss, you surely dispel the obstacles attaining enlightenment. With your kindness, bestow your blessings upon me. With your affection, guide myself and others on the path. With your realization, grant me the cities. With your powers, dispel the obstacles of myself and others. Clear the outer obstacles externally. Clear the inner obstacles internally. Clear the secret obstacles spontaneously. Respectfully, I bow down and take refuge in you. Oma Hum Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Hum. Oma Hum Benza Guru Pema Choten Tse Vacha Samaya Za Siddhi Pala Hum A.
세대 되겠죠. 무슨 세대 내세나 세고 토면에서 뒤바봤다는 상지식 이렇다. 좀 만들어 내야는 대지 등을 잡고 너무 심하게 오버해서 등을 잡고 요식 기다가 등을 반미를 좋아. 다 간단 예반년 달에 예반선으로 빠지는 멤버들 내셔고 왼쪽 등으로 빠지니 그런 처음 세린 예매 대지 필수적으로 보여요. 대지가 뭐야 지다. 된다는 것이 돼요. 대지는 맞지.
So we conclude with dedication. We dedicate the roots of virtue accumulated since beginningless time and combine it into these roots of virtue of completing mind and mental factors. We dedicate these roots of virtue to the flourishing of Buddha Dharma and to excellent happiness of all sentient beings. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to all upholders of the Buddha's teachings in the 10 directions, represented by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. May His Holiness the Dalai Lama live eons long, excellent health, and may his enlightened activities and holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously. And we also, in particular, we also dedicate these roots of virtue to our beloved Kyabshe Lama Sopa Rinpoche. May Rinpoche quickly recover from the manifest sickness, live eons long, excellent health, and may Rinpoche's enlightened activities and holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to world peace and may excellent happiness prevail the world. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue, may the disaster and also natural disaster be pacified immediately. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue for this pandemic, wars and conflicts that happens all around the world be pacified immediately. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who pass away, and especially those who pass away in a disaster, pandemic, wars and conflict. May their negativities accumulated since beginningless time be pacified immediately and quickly achieve the state of enlightenment. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who are suffering, especially those who suffer because of pandemic, wars, conflicts, disaster. May their life be filled with, may they quickly be freed from sufferings, and may their life be filled with excellent happiness. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who help others, such as doctors, nurses, and those who help others financially. May their life be filled with excellent happiness, and may they live long, and may their holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously. Thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Geshe-la.